On your screen, Paul Waldman, the Special Projects Director for Media Matters for America. And for those who may not know, what is Media Matters?
Media Matters is a progressive media watchdog group. We monitor the mainstream media and the conservative media in an effort to identify and correct what we refer to as conservative misinformation. We are a proudly progressive group, so we're interested in that kind of misinformation. We don't really talk about bias in the news because that's really about reading people's minds and figuring out what journalists are thinking, what their secret agenda is. We like to keep our focus on what's in the news, what we can identify and correct, because there's so many things that are wrong and misleading that circulate around the media ecosystem, if you will. And it really doesn't necessarily have to do with reporters trying to inject their own views. Oftentimes, people just don't know that something is wrong, or they repeat things that they've heard. And so our effort is to document that and to try to really keep reporters honest, if you want to think about it that way, but also to help them to do their jobs in the best possible way and keep the public as informed as possible and keep them from being misinformed.
One of the focuses that you're having right now is on Jerome Corsi's book. Why is that?
Well, obviously he's getting a lot of attention, and given what happened 4 years ago, this is kind of one of the most extraordinary cases of mass misinformation that we've seen in recent political history. And there was it really happened because I think there was a failure on the part of the media. If you remember, what happened 4 years ago was Corsi was at the center of this campaign called the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. They came out with these explosive charges about John Kerry, that he faked his injuries in Vietnam, that he didn't deserve his medals, and for about a month they were circulating around in the press. They were reported on before the press actually took the time to investigate whether or not those charges were true. When they finally got around to doing that, what did they find? Well, they found that they were false. Almost everything that the Swift Boat Veterans were saying about Kerry was false. Everyone came to that conclusion, to the point where today we use the term swift boating to refer to a false malicious campaign against a presidential candidate. But by the time the press really got around to doing that kind of fact-checking, the damage had already been done. So now, 4 years later, Corsi's coming out with another book with a whole series of charges against against Barack Obama. So what we decided to do is, okay, we're going to take the book and we're going to fact-check it on the front end. And hopefully then the press will start to do the same thing, and they will treat his claims, some of which are just outrageous and false and misleading, with the kind of skepticism that they should have greeted the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth with 4 years ago.
The Obama campaign put out its own analysis and responded to each of Mr. Corsi's charges, looking at statements or press releases or press reports or things like that as their evidence. Did you use that same approach as far as press clips, previous appearances, things that you can find on the internet if you're researching news databases?
We take our information from a number of different places. Whenever we are doing this kind of examination of something, we realize that since we're a progressive group, we're going to be criticized by people who have a different ideology. And so we try to make sure that every piece of evidence we put out there is as nailed down as possible. It comes from the most objective sources possible, whether it's government reports or documents or things like that. That even if you say, well, you know, someone says I'm a conservative, I don't agree with those people, you can't argue with the evidence that we put out. So when we approach something like a book, we're going to go through it page by page and see the claims there and say, okay, can we prove that this is false or it's true? And that's what we've done with Mr. Corsi's book. And we've also looked at the statements that he's been making as he's gone around promoting it. And one of the things that's happened is that he's been making more false statements as he's been promoting the book, even things that weren't in the book. So, for instance, he has said that Barack Obama put up on his website a fraudulent birth certificate. Now, this is one of those crazy conspiracy theories that's been circulating around in emails and on right-wing websites, that somehow maybe Barack Obama wasn't actually born in the United States. And why haven't we seen his birth certificate? People were asking this, so the Obama campaign said, okay, we'll put up his birth certificate on our website. They did, and now, you know, Mr. Corsi is out there saying it's fraudulent, and even the Hawaii Health Department that issued it said that, no, it's legitimate, that's his birth certificate, he was in fact born in Hawaii. So we've been doing that too, examining the things that Mr. Corsi has been saying as he's been promoting the book, and some of those have also been false.
We talked about a lot of things regarding the things that were found in his book. Name a couple that are important for you to comment on as far as claims made in the book.
Well, I think you have to look at each of them in context. I mean, if you go down the list of the false claims that we found, if you take each one in isolation, you might look at it and say, well, you know, that doesn't really seem all that big a deal. But you have to see it as part of this larger campaign. And so, for instance, let's take one claim. One of the things that he says is that when Barack Obama's father divorced his mother, he did it in accordance with Sharia law, which is kind of a strange idea since Barack Obama's father was an atheist. When you look in the footnotes, you find out that this claim comes from a Canadian blogger that no one's ever heard of. And you could say, well, what does that really matter? But if you look at the rest of the book and the rest of the campaign against Obama, there's all kinds of an effort to say that Barack Obama really might be a Muslim. And so you find things like that that are false in and of themselves and seem like something small, but they fit into a larger picture of a campaign to convince people that he's not really one of us, that he's not really American. Maybe he wasn't even born here. Maybe you know when he's obviously a Christian, but maybe that's not true. Maybe he's a secret Muslim. And so you find all these little things that are kind of an effort to do a death by a thousand cuts to undermine him and create that big image that he's just the other. He's alien. He's different.
We're continuing our conversation with Paul Waldman. The numbers on your screen, similar to the last segment that you just saw. If you support Senator Obama, there's a line for you, as well as Senator McCain supporters, and for those supporting independents as well. First call is Omaha, Nebraska. Our line for Senator Obama supporters. Good morning.
Yes, sir. I have a comment to make here first off. I noticed Mr. Corsi had a tendency to fall back on his footnotes a great little bit. But if you take a look at the first 11 footnotes that he put into his book, 9 of them come from him. He's quoting himself.
Well, that's certainly true. And he also, you're right. Mr. Corsi has, as he has been promoting this book, has said many times, well, I've got 700 footnotes, so therefore I must be credible. Well, just because you put something in a footnote doesn't mean it's true. And when we went through the footnotes, what you find is, first of all, lots and lots of the citations are to right-wing bloggers. There are citations to people like Ann Coulter, who's so repugnant that even conservatives don't want to have anything to do with her anymore. One of the people that he cites a couple of times is a right-wing blogger named Andy Martin, who is a known anti-Semite, who has once called a judge a dirty Jew in open court and has filed so many lawsuits, literally hundreds of them, that the courts have forbidden him from filing any more lawsuits. So those are the kinds of people that he's citing. And then and so you could say, well, what kind of circles is this guy running in? He has actually appeared on radio shows, on a white supremacist radio show that gets simulcast on Stormfront, which is the most notorious white supremacist website in America. So, I think that Mr. Corsi has almost seemed to be surprised that so many people are criticizing him. But I have to ask, what did he expect when these are the kind of people that he's circulating with, and when his last effort to destroy a presidential candidate proved to be so fact-challenged? I don't understand why he has such trouble understanding why he's getting criticized and attacked so much.